My name is Kelly.
And I'm Nathan.
And this is Fanimated, an animation fan podcast where we get a chance to geek out about our favorite animated media. And today is a Whatcha watching day, which means we're going to talk about what we've been watching recently, or playing in this case. But before all of that, I have a couple of awesome reviews to read. So thank you to everyone who sends in reviews. This first one is from Simon. Simon says, I know what you're thinking, ... Some random people geeking out for an hour and a half about some movies I've seen. But the people on this show are so good at describing the film in ways you couldn't imagine. My favorite TV show in the world is Avatar: The Last Airbender, and I must have watched all the seasons 10 times over and over, but they could see the show in more depth than even I could. If you have read this thing and haven't given up from sentence 1, then I really encourage you to just give an episode a try. I guarantee you will like it, and if not, then that's okay. You can move on and listen to another one. Such good work. Keep it up, and we will be here. I love you guys. Thank you.
Aw, thanks, Simon.
I appreciate that Simon's like hyping it up and like, oh, we looked at everything in depth. You're absolutely going to love it. But also, if not, that's fine.
Set the expectations. Thank you.
Well, I hope that we're a podcast for everyone, but that's okay if it's not for you.
Yeah, did you ever think it'd be weird creating a podcast based solely off of visual media, Kelly?
You know, I don't know if I've thought about that. It is strange, because we just have to be here. Like, the animation is pretty, I promise. But thank you, Simon, for the lovely words. And the next one is from Maddie, who says, this is an awesome podcast that I 100% recommend. It's sweet and cute, and I love how just really chill it is. It's amazing, and I love how you guys can just geek out together. Thank you for making such an amazing podcast. Have a wonderful day. Thank you. Have a wonderful day yourself, Maddie.
Yes, thanks, Maddie.
I am glad that we can have a space where we can just, geek out and be chill.
Most of my objectives in life accomplished. Yes. Geek out and be chill.
Absolutely. Check and check. So as always, we've been diving into a lot, or in your case, diving into one thing very, very deeply.
Oh yeah. So since we've recorded, what was the last time we recorded? A while
ago.
Arcane? We recorded
Arcane.
League of Legends?
Yep.
Was that before Christmas? After Christmas?
We might have recorded it before Christmas, but it didn't come out till after Christmas, the episode.
Okay. So, yeah. I've watched absolutely nothing, Kelly. I don't know why you had me on this episode. But I have been playing one video game, and anyone who's in the video game space can guess. But because I only have one thing to talk about, how about you go first this time?
Well, that's a little tease, so you know what's coming up for Nathan. All right. Well, I'll talk about some old stuff before I talk about the new stuff. How about that? One thing I've been really enjoying recently is a shonen anime that I think came out in 2019. I started watching it when it was releasing, but then I just fell off the bandwagon for some reason, and I'm just now getting back to it, and boy howdy is it fun. And that is Fire Force. So lots of, they got their big cast of fun characters that you love, and they all have their little sticks, and yeah. They go on adventures fighting fire monsters, and it is very fun. Not like S tier or anything, but like just a solid shonen fun time.
Yeah, I watched the first episode and I just didn't get it, and I think I described it to you of just like, what is this show? Like, why does it exist? And I was just like, is it just so they can animate cool fire? And you went, yep, that's why it exists. So they can animate cool fire.
That's exactly it. That's exactly why. And the fire is good. It's good fire.
Very caveman fire. Good.
Fire good. So yeah, I'm glad to have, gotten back into it. It's very fun. And then the other much older show that I got back to, and all of the anime rom-com nerds can freak out about this one. Emma has been hounding me to watch Kamisama Kiss, and I originally watched it and was like, no. Well, guess what? I was in the right time and space to accept Kamisama Kiss, and I am on board. It is definitely very early anime kind of shonen. It feels, it's that Fruits Basket era where it's all a little bit like, are these guys actually good for you? But but I'll look past it because he's the way he is. I don't know. All right. So anyway, so it was fun. I probably won't go and finish the manga. It definitely gets to the point where with a lot of romance stories in general, it's like, oh, it feels very natural that they could be together now. Like there have been very clear signs of this, and then it doesn't happen because they need to string the story along. And so I was like, yeah, that's about it. Anyway, it's like, but it's like a lot of those early 2000s shoujo where it's like the girl comes in and changes everybody and they become a family and blah, 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 blah. And I did enjoy it. I am not, here I am kind of being like harping on it, but I did have a good time. I'm just saying it is, I call it when I see it.
Right. We're not.
Yeah.
We can be a little critical here on what you're watching and what we've been watching.
Exactly. So there you go. Those are some older ones that I've been catching up on. So with some more recent stuff going on, we saw Jujutsu Kaisen 0.
Ooh, we did. We did do that.
We did do that
with a whole crew.
Whole crew of anime nerds, and it was awesome. I feel like it's definitely above the normal shonen movie that, like the My Hero movie type, ones that come out and it has no impact on the plot really, and it's just an excuse to be like, yay, the characters are here again. And it still feels like a lot of that.
But it's not the main characters.
Yes.
Right?
It's this.
Because it's a prequel, it was like already written. It's not like tacked on. It's tacked on at the beginning, right? So then they can do kind of what they more liberties with it. But yeah, we stopped watching it and I turned over to Kelly and the crew there and was just like, that was the most so shonen movie I've ever seen. Just nothing has been more shonen than that to ever exist, of just the power of love and determination and friendship will defeat the villain, and yelling and screaming and big energy balls and like
big energy balls. That's it.
And big fight at the end, weird comedy, like just
a chance for everyone to shine, and pretty. Not pretty fire this time. Ooh, pretty punches.
Yeah. So like it was weird to not have like your favorite characters in the movie, of just like Yuji, and I think it was kind of light on Gojo, but I would have, if Gojo was the entire movie, I would have been happy. So I guess it's good that they didn't do that, but also bad that they didn't do that, because that'd be a great movie. But
yes, I would agree. Yeah, I had a great time. It's fun to see in theaters. It's fun to see with the crew. Animation was gorgeous. My biggest critique is just that like the entire thing hinges on this very deep emotional connection to a character that you get absolutely zero time being able to connect with. And of course, no spoilers here on the What You Watching. But because of that, it really was pushing you to be emotional in certain moments. And I was like, I do not have any connection.
I met this guy an hour ago. Like,
also like it didn't do a great job of making that connection happen.
Yeah.
But like honestly, it wasn't to me. It was more about the characters we already knew. Like that was the fun part for me. It was just being like, oh, here are all of your favorites, and here they're all kicking butt and being awesome, and also Gojo.
Also Gojo.
It just makes me more excited for the next season of Jujutsu Kaisen.
We gotta eat more fingers. Get on it.
Get on it, Itadori. Eat those fingers. All right. Well, what have you been spending all of your time on, Nathan? I think it's time. It is time to delve into.
All right. So, yeah. I haven't shut up about this to any of my friends for about 3 months. So now the whole Fanimated crew gets to listen to it too. So if anyone is aware of video games in the last month, a big one came out called Elden Ring.
Don't know if you heard of it.
Don't know if you heard of it. Just like breaking records and stuff. So Elden Ring is the newest From Software game. From Software is famous for making the Dark Souls trilogy. They have also made things like Demon Souls and Bloodborne and Sekiro. And so they have a long history of making very challenging, very grueling video games that I have had no interest in playing for years because I'm not very good at video games, though I play a lot of them. And so I was kind of shied away from that style. There's also not that many that come out on computers. They're mainly focusing on PlayStation's games. But Elden Ring had a whole bunch of hype for years. Also, like through the entire pandemic when nothing was coming out, they were like, Elden Ring will eventually come out. And it was releasing on PC. And the big draw was that it was going to be open world and then it wasn't going to be as hard. So I was like, I was getting into it. I was getting into the hype. I was following people that were doing, lore and pre demos and looking at all this stuff. And then, I got the game day one, and it was one of the most addicting video games I've ever experienced. And it was also still very, very hard.
And here you thought maybe it'll be a little easier.
Yeah. So,
no, wrong, false.
And so I think this game came out like roughly like the end of February, a little bit into March maybe. So it's been close to 2 months, I think, 3 months at this point, and I just beat it this week.
You did beat it! Oh my gosh!
It took me 96 hours to beat this video game.
Dang.
And I have never in my life wanted to go back and play another a video game right after beating it, but I did with this game. Like that's how good it was. Of like, you beat it, and I instantly started thinking about the next build and the next character and the next thing that I wanted to do in a new playthrough of the game. And I had just spent 90 plus hours playing it.
Let's go again.
And it was that let's go again. But yeah, the premise of the game is that you are the Tarnished. You're not even like the chosen warrior. You're like one of the many that have returned to the lands between, which is this like realm of, you have been tasked to defeat the shard bearers and restore the Elden Ring to become Elden Lord. And like, that's it. Like the game has very little like explicit instruction, explicit guidance, explicit lore. Like everything about the game is exploration and dying constantly. And that's like, if you go into it with that mentality of like, oh, I am going to die a lot in this game, it makes the dying easier.
Just accept your fate.
And yeah, it was just a fantastic game. And I know you played like, what, an hour of the first
Yes.
level?
So my brother let me, try it out. And so I mean, I spent zero time making a character. I just like go, go, go. And I spent about an hour in the first little section of the game. And yeah, I died quite a bit.
Yep.
You know, got chased by some things, and I, you know, snuck up behind some guys. I liked that, like, you know, like any open world game, I enjoy the exploration piece of it. Like, I enjoy running around this really beautiful world. Mm-hmm. I wish, like, there was a little more to it, but it really is just like, here's a sandbox full of enemies, basically, mm-hmm. which is fine. You know, and like there are definitely some really cool moments of like, you know, at the very end of my playthrough, I'm going through this giant gate, and I don't know, spoiler warning, but
this is like, if you know what to do, this is like 15 minutes into the game.
Oh yeah, no, I'm walking. I spent an hour in that area.
Yep. But yeah, so you entered the gate, and what happened, Kelly?
A giant troll like falls on top of me. Yep, and then I was done. I'm glad you, Nathan, and so many others are enjoying Elden Ring. If you're out there listening to this, geeking out about Elden Ring desperately, let us know that you really like it and what, you know, what your playthrough was like. It's fascinating to hear about. And you know, speaking of high fantasy adventure, but
hey,
maybe
there you go. That's a great segue.
That's a segue. I've been watching The Legend of Vox Machina.
Woohoo!
Which is, if you don't already know, kind of the first Critical Role story condensed.
Yeah, it's campaign 1, which is what's the time running on that? Probably 700 hours of D&D content.
I have never, you know, listened to or watched any Critical Role stuff. So I came into this TV show not knowing basically anything except, you know, having been in a D&D group myself. And with this other wonderful guest I have, who just happened to be the DM of that group. And I thoroughly enjoyed it. So in that sense, you don't have to know anything about the Critical Role stuff to enjoy Vox Machina. I don't even think you necessarily need to know anything about D&D. But I will say there are definitely things that I would say I would have critiques about if I didn't already know about D&D. That is to say that there's a lot of stuff that they just don't explain.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm curious about your impressions of the show. I haven't watched it, but I know enough about, I exist enough in the D&D social space to know enough about Critical Role to kind of understand what's happening.
Yeah. Yeah, again, I went in knowing absolutely nothing. So, like, there are definitely times where, like, they have some sort of equipment or weapon that they use on this crazy, and then you're like, that no one explained how that happened or what like they just drop you in the middle of this adventure, right? And you're just like, what? I know nothing about what's going on here.
Well, here's the thing. Campaign 1 started by them being dropped in the middle of an adventure. Because this was literally, Critical Role exists because it was a home game that, it was a game that Matt Mercer was running with a bunch of his voice actor friends, and they were just doing it to have fun and practice voice acting, I suppose, with each other. And then they decided to live stream it on Twitch, like before Twitch was even really a thing. Like they were on like Geek and Sundry, like Twitch as like a weekly thing, like from a person's like kitchen. Like it wasn't like they like it wasn't a thing. Like no one was like, people had like done this before in a little ways of like podcasting, but they were the first ones to like really like monetize and live stream it, and it blew up. It became huge. It has like a cult following. And then this whole like TV show they did had like, until Brandon Sanderson's Kickstarter, I think it had the fastest like completed Kickstarter like in history.
Yeah. Yeah.
And they were like, oh, we're gonna get, like, I don't know what they wanted, like 1.2 or $2 million to make the show, and they got something like 12 or 15. Like they got 10 times their expected amount, and then like they got all of his attention. And then Amazon Prime was just like, oh no, like this is a big deal. Like we'll do this and support it. And they were like, oh, okay, we're just a bunch of friends who made a company in their kitchen. Like, like it's their story beyond the campaign and what they're telling of just like the Critical Role story is wild and amazing. And so, but yeah, and so if you feel confused, campaign 1 is confusing from what I've heard of that. It was a home game that they essentially like decided to start live streaming at like level 5, right?
Right.
And then they went on for something like 3 years, like 150 episodes. Like
it's the One Piece of D&D podcasts.
It really is. I think they've got to been playing like 9 years or something. I don't know. They're on campaign 3 now, and they usually spend about 3 years on every campaign. So
yeah, that's wild.
That's where they're at.
Yeah, and they're condensing it into 2 12-episode seasons, and from what it feels like to me is they're kind of picking and choosing probably the best segments of whatever story. I don't know. It's like there's no precedent for this. Like,
right. It's like no one's adopted a D&D actual play live stream into a TV show before. Like,
yes, which is so exciting. Like, from like just that standpoint of like, oh, what there are these other forms of media that you can take to use to adapt into animation or any other form of media. Like, I don't know, just being able to see that is really cool. And it's not just an animated show coming from like books or whatever. I don't know, like, and that it's, again, I'm always an advocate for a Western animated series that isn't just like The Simpsons or South Park, where it definitely has like, adult content. Yeah, for sure. Warning on that. But it's funny, but it's also like, I don't know, this just came from a different place, so it feels special because it's like coming from this like weird internet fandom, and it just like became a thing. Like, it's just so cool. So like, I really enjoyed watching it. Like, I mean, it's D&D, so it's like, of course you like immediately fall in love with all of these characters because like they're so fully their own tropes, you know what I mean? And I'm like, yes, like I love all of them so much, and like they're going, like I feel like if anything, like even if there might be some random things that pop up or confusing bits, mostly what this show does is just like about this like, core party, and you're just like, I feel the camaraderie of this party, and like I want them to succeed, and I just like, I'm rooting for them, and that's like the feeling of playing D&D. And so I think they just portray D&D well. I think that just about wraps it up for today, although I have been watching a lot more than that. You can find an in-depth discussion on Turning Red, Pixar's, excuse me, although Disney owns Pixar.
Yeah.
What's the difference?
Doesn't Disney own?
Disney owns everything. But I have that discussion up on Patreon, patreon.com/Fanimated. I'll just say right here that Turning Red I thought was awesome, super emotionally resonant, cried a bunch. Very good. And I also had on my list all of the amazing, phenomenal anime that are coming out this season. Like, I can't tell you, like, it's been so long since an anime season has been this good. Like, banger after banger after banger. This season is so jam-packed. I'm watching, like, 6 shows.
It's too many shows, Kelly.
It's too many. But let me at least list them out so you can hear how all these awesome. Okay, so we have Komi Can't Communicate Season 2, Kaguya-sama Love is War, Okay, coming with another season. And Ascendance of a Bookworm, all three of which are like some of my top tier, absolute best of the best anime, all coming back with new seasons. I am absolutely freaking dying. Okay. And that's just the new seasons coming out. That's not even to mention all of the actual new content, which is the hypest of hype, Spy Family. Everyone's been freaking out about it. Everyone's losing their minds about it. I am in love with these stupid people so much.
How can spies be so stupid?
I love it. I love it. I love it. I clearly need to do a another bonus episode on Patreon just talking about spring anime. Or maybe I'll do it here. I don't know, but I have a lot more to talk about.
Sounds like a plan.
Oh, dear. So thank you so much for listening, everyone. You can follow us on Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube at Fanmated Podcast. Leave a rating and review. We'll read them on the show. Tell us what you've been watching, what you want us to talk about next. The music is written by Jamie Krause. I have done the art, and you can find my art Instagram at CandorDraw. So thank you, Nathan, for joining me to talk about Elden Ring and all of the stuff I've been watching.
Glad to be on, Kelly. Glad to be on.
All right, so we will be back in a couple of weeks with 101 Dalmatians episode coming up. In the meantime, stay tuned.
And stay animated.
So, with all of that, oh, you know what? See, look, I just keep thinking of things. Also, Owl House. I need to end this episode, but I'll just say the new Owl House episodes are both amazing, but also every one of them makes me like a little sad. Anyway, it's great.
It's great. As you're crying about your animes.
Yeah.
They're so good.